And the last thing I want to ask, I was involved in the 90s in a series of live remote radio broadcasts involving 80 or so artists and doing dance for radio and music, theater, a whole bunch of things. And there was a live audience and the radio broadcast. And I remember after the second one that we did, and the end of the program, and the stage manager or floor manager sort of called the end of the broadcast and said, "We're off the air." And it felt like this just sense of relief, like literally it was sort of a NASA landing or something. Did you guys, in your final toast and post after that toast on screen, have a sense of relief, like we've done it? What was that like? What was the experience or the feeling?
I cried like a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it really, like, I think, again, I think what Ron and the Fusebox team pulled off was so extraordinary, and such a extraordinarily sort of generous and expansive and complex response to the moment. It was relief, but also sadness, because I feel like we'd just struck something new and we'd discovered that together. And, you know, there was such a lot of density and programming, but it was over so quickly as well. And I think most importantly, at that point in time, it gave us all what we'd been missing so much, which was a means to gather together at a time where it was actually impossible to do that physically. And it was just so beautiful to be offered that and to feel it so genuinely, and that feeling of delirium that we so often have after festivals, where you've been through like 5 days of 24/7 days and nights, and you sort of don't know where you are or what time it is anymore, but you're just so grateful to have had that experience, and it's transformed you. So you know, that was really the feeling at the end for me.
Right. Wonderful. And for you, Ron?
Yeah, it was in some ways very familiar feelings that you feel after a festival. To echo what Jeff was saying, like there's a sense like you're depleted and you're exhausted, but you're also feeling connected, and you experience these different ideas and felt these different things, and so you're both depleted and you're full at the same time, and you are a bit disoriented because you've just been working so hard to do this thing, and then it's over, and then there's this sense of like, what's next, and where am I? It's a bit disorienting. It was a bit odd in that all of that was taking place in my living room, you know, or in my house, and so that was also just weird. It was the easiest strike we've ever had, you know. We took back like 4 lights, you know, like that part was awesome. So yeah, it was emotional, and there was a sense of relief and a sense of accomplishment and a sense of just like, oh my God, I'm just fried, totally fried. But there wasn't the physical exhaustion that I feel at the end of a festival. Like it was a mental and emotional exhaustion, but not the physical, you know, because I was just hanging out in my house.
I guess it was virtual. Perhaps it's virtual exhaustion as opposed to literal exhaustion.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so, like, you know, speaking of through the portal, it's so like odd to come out the other side of the portal, and then you're just like in your living room surrounded by all your stuff, and you're there by yourself, and it's sort of what just happened.
Well, thank you guys for sitting down with us and this very first episode of Through the Portal. The festival, the virtual version, really was a moment, I think, of great hope and really of inspiration for a lot of us in the performing arts, and a lot of us involved certainly or connected emotionally or otherwise to the idea of what a festival is, and certainly in these times of COVID-19, the need to remain connected and to gather by whatever means that we can. And such, and so hats off to you for what you pulled off, and thank you for sharing all your experiences and takeaways and musings on the future. It's really wonderful to hear. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Real pleasure talking with you.
Yeah. Keep well there in Austin, and of course keep well in Sydney. We've been talking to Jeff Kahn and Ron Berry of Performance Space and Fusebox, respectively, about their experiences and learnings of carrying off the very first virtual edition of the Fusebox Festival in April of 2020 in Austin, Texas, and of course, many places around the world for the first time, I suppose. Yeah. Take care, guys.
Thank you.